Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to part 2 of NFL Draft winners and losers. We're going to break down rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my God, that's a lot of rounds.
That is. We're going to have to fly through this.
I know. Without further ado, let's jump in. That fast. So we'll break down those drafts, and then next week we're going to hop into some redraft content from now until the end of the century, or at least till August. And we'll break down all kinds of redraft stuffs. And in between, and intermediately, we'll talk about some dynasty things in those shows and intros and stuff, because that's what we do. We do around here in the off season. We play dynasty. But anyway, so without further ado, my name is Mark Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. What's poppin', Rick?
What's up?
Be sure to check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review. Share this pod with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Click the bell for notifications. Help us out. Support the pod. And then leave a comment down below. All right, let's jump into league winners. Let's jump into NFL draft winners and losers without further ado. Rick and I are having this discussion, so we might as well just jump right in. As if we were having the discussion already 20 minutes ago.
Right, we were.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's start with round 2. First pick in round 2 that came off the board, skill position player number 1, quarterback Will Levis, goes 233 to the Tennessee Titans. I hope I got that right. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, Joey Porter was essentially a first round pick here at pick 32. So the real first pick of the second round is Will Levis. But because Miami Dolphins had their pick taken away.
So Tennessee traded up here. Do you know what the comp was? Because I didn't get to watch.
I have no idea. No idea. I don't imagine that it was that much. But I look at this as first round draft capital for Will Levis.
Yep.
This is not like a normal second round selection. So, and I guess Tennessee was trying to trade into the first round to draft Will Levis. So this is the next closest thing that they get. It was probably cheaper for them to sit and wait anyway, because none of those teams are going to draft Will Levis. So at pick 33 for Tennessee, this makes a ton of sense. He is one of those guys that I do look at, not going to play year one much. I could see him, because Tannehill does have a tendency to get hurt. I could see him coming onto the field and playing at times. Their friggin' head coach said he's going to start third on the depth chart. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, right. Your first round pick quarterback essentially is going to start as the third quarterback on the depth chart. We get it. So he's probably going to be number 2 behind Tannehill, and then I would imagine Tannehill gets hurt at some point and Levis takes over and he doesn't look back. So that's what my expectation would be. But if Tannehill doesn't get hurt, he'll sit on the bench the whole season, and he's the quarterback heir for Tennessee. So I think it's a good landing spot for him in terms of it being the Tennessee Titans. They have a good structure and organization. So I think it'll be good for him, but it's just going to take some time if you're in Dynasty. Where is he going in your drafts, by the way?
He's like 110. If you're in a 10 team, he's like 110 to 1. 12 team, he's kind of like that 110, 112 range. So I don't mind it. I don't mind the spot. In the second round capital, I know it's like kind of basically first round, but that kind of puts me a little bit on edge with him. He's not going to start year one either.
Yeah.
I don't think. So you have to take that into account. But long term, it could be a decent spot. As you said, the Titans have pretty decent foundation on that team.
Yeah.
Vrabel's a good coach. I think they took Peter Skoronsky in the first round. So building that O-line. They don't have a lot of receivers. It's Treylon Burks and a whole bunch of nobodies. So they'll need to get some weapons for him. But they do have a good foundation there. So I don't hate it. especially consider once he went to the second round, the Titans became a pretty good landing spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say it's a winner landing spot, but I'm not jumping out of my chair to go get Will Levis.
I was totally blanked out when you said where he was getting drafted. Did you say second round?
In a 12 team, it's like 110 to 112.
Okay. All right, so
second round. In a 10 team, that's like the 110 to like the 2-1.
Yeah. All right. So so that I would imagine puts him in like the third round in a standard non-super flex league.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. So Will Levis goes, and then we have the second and third. In this round, there was a lot of tight ends taken, so bear with us as we go through these guys. Sam Laporta was the second tight end taken by Detroit. I don't anticipate anything happening year one for him. They don't have a tight end, really. They have, I forgot the guy that replaced Hawk when they traded him.
Brock Wright? Was
it Brock Wright? Yeah, I would imagine he's going to get a majority of the work year one here for Sam Laporta's career, but my anticipation is he's probably going to step into that Hawk role at some point for them. He's probably more gritty.
Yeah,
he's probably a gritty player. So he gets taken at 234. Any thoughts on Laporta?
Yeah, I think to me he's not quite in that same tier as Kincaid and the next guy we're going to talk about, but it's a really good landing spot for him. Mm-hmm. And as a second round pick in dynasty leagues, I think it's not a bad flyer.
Yeah, not a bad flyer take.
Especially considering the tight end position is so good this year. Mm-hmm. And the landing spot is pretty good. So yeah,
and the capital
is good. To me, he's the tight end 3 though. He's the rookie tight end 3.
The draft capital for Laporta is huge.
Yes.
Second round pick on a tight end that high, pick 34.
That's why, like you said, late second with Kincaid on the last show. I feel like you're gonna see when you do rookie drafts, post NFL draft, mm-hmm. there's gonna be like 4 tight ends in the first 2 rounds, 4 or 5 tight ends.
Yeah,
like it's a tight end heavy rookie draft.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So he goes to the Lions. Next pick later. I don't get this. The Raiders, man. Michael Mayer to the Raiders at pick 35. I don't understand. They clearly don't like Darren Waller. They were like, you know what? Frick you, Darren Waller. We're gonna take Michael Mayer because he might have been.
Darren
my
Waller
got
traded, bro. Don't you?
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, you don't remember?
I don't.
He's on the Giants.
Yeah, that's right. We freaking talked about that. Wow, my brain just.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I kind of like this landing spot.
my brain just downgraded to like August 2022 right there. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a really good landing spot for Darren Waller. Oh my god.
Yeah, that is a really good landing spot for Waller.
Did we ever talk about that?
We did.
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. Mental block. So yeah, great landing spot for Michael Mayer. Forget all my reaction a second ago. Yeah, no, that's a good spot. I like it.
Yeah, he has a chance to slot in as the tight end 1 right away in a Josh McDaniels offense, so that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. But again, the year 1 for tight ends, you got to kind of reel it back in a little bit. But I do like the landing spot overall. And to me, he's a really good tight. Like he might be the best pure tight end this draft because he's a really good receiving tight end and a really good blocking tight end. So he's another good value for rookie drafts in the second round.
Yeah. And he was my favorite. I think he was my favorite tight end coming in ahead of Dalton Kincaid. I really like Michael Mayer. So going to the Raiders is great. And the Josh McDaniel system helps that out a lot as well. So Raiders got a lot of things going over there. Maybe he'll become the new George Kittle.
Yeah.
When we get to the end of this round, though, I want to bring up where you which one of these tight ends you think is most likely to have the most success year 1.
Okay.
All right. Number 4, Jonathan Mingo, 5th wide receiver taken off the board to the Carolina Panthers at pick 39. Mingo was he was not in our top 5 for wide receivers when we were ranking wide receivers. Who was our 5th guy? Each one was...
All right. I think we had different. I think you had Hyatt and I had Downs, unless we
Okay,
both had
yeah.
Downs.
So, it was really like, like to me, it was really like a giant cluster, like of players,
Yeah,
and you really could have chosen from anyone random. And that's kind of what happened in the NFL draft. So at 208, Jonathan Mingo gets a lot of draft capital. Second round is a place where a lot of wide receivers can work out. This guy, I watched a little bit of film on him because I thought the Patriots might take him. You know, my guys, New England Patriots gotta make sure my team's getting the good players. He is 6'1", 226. He had a 4.46 40-yard dash, 96th percentile burst score, 91st percentile burst score, 96th percentile speed score, 45th percentile agility score, and 83rd percentile catch radius. So he is your prototypical Dez Bryant kind of receiver. Plays the outside. And I think that's something that Carolina does need. You know, they got rid of DJ Moore, and they picked up Adam Thielen, but they don't really have anyone that can play outside. So I think Mingo slots into that role. I like this landing spot for him, and I think there could be some good games for him in year one. I don't think he could be one of those guys that ends up being a million times a streamer if he earns a role and ends up as a starter in the offense, which I think could happen considering what they have over there at receiver. So
yeah.
But you know, Stroud gets Mingo, and we'll see how it works.
Bryce Young gets Mingo.
Sorry. Yeah. Bryce
Working
Young gets
overtime
Mingo.
today.
Sorry. Yeah. I've literally, I woke up at 7 and I've been working since 7. So
you are working overtime.
Yes.
Yeah, Jonathan Mingo. I actually like the spot. He wasn't my favorite pre-draft. I think his college production really isn't that good. But he does profile as you said, prototypical X. Player profile has him as the second most based on their athleticism score. He had the second highest rating among all the receivers in the class. So he's a very athletic, good size, 6'1", 226, runs a 4.46. Like he's got the prototypical type of receiver that you would want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the landing spot is good. So to me, he's the new wide receiver 5. I would definitely take him in the second round, and he's got a lot of upside. But he could also flame out because even though the Panthers don't really have a number one receiver by any means, the opportunity is there for him to take that role and be the guy for Carolina, or at least be one of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have depth, so there's also at the same time opportunity for him to kind of fall behind in the depth chart.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he to me is the new number 5 receiver in the class. Based on the landing spot, I think is really good for him. And I think he's got good upside. I'm looking to take some flyers on him in some drafts.
Yeah, definitely. Tight end Luke Musgrave, 242, pick 42 to the Green Bay Packers. I was gonna say the Carolina Packers. That they moved, guys. The Green Bay Packers take him. Also another really good tight end. He's probably my top 3. Luke Musgrave. Yeah. So he's a good player. Obviously, yep. Green Bay let Bob Tonyan go to the Chicago Bears. That took me a little bit. You know, like when one of those Windows computers, I use Mac, so it doesn't happen ever, but Windows gets like the blue screen. That is what my brain is doing right now. It's going blue screen. But anyway, Tonyan goes to the Bears. Luke Musgrave now on the Packers. Like I said, tight ends take a little bit of time to develop, and it's like I'm excited about the landing spot because there really is no one to throw the ball to in Green Bay besides Christian Watson at this point, or what's his name, Romeo Doubs. So like those two guys are going to get the ball thrown to them, but this opens things up in the middle of the field for Luke Musgrave because he can earn a role right away as a number 1 tight end. And so I think things could go well for him if he ends up earning the number 1 tight end slot, but it just depends on if he gets that and how good the Packers are and Jordan Love are. By the way, he signed. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. They just signed him for another year, $22.5 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked this landing spot. I did like it at first, but I don't know if you noticed. The very next round they took another tight end. and we'll get to him. But yeah, so they took 2 tight ends back to back.
I noticed that Green Bay's
and they took a receiver as well. So it's kind of clogged up. The opportunity is there though. Like if he's the best guy, he will be the primary.
I don't like camp hype and I don't like coach peak, but there's an opportunity here where if you're paying attention, and you're looking at depth charts pre-season to see where guys are, that this guy could be good. But like redraft time, I'm not thinking about Luke Musgrave in terms of drafts.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
But I could see him at some point in the season becoming a pickup on the waiver wire if he starts, if he gets the start and he starts playing. Because like Rick said, there's opportunity there to expand the role, but we'll see.
Right.
Like Rick said, very next offensive skill position, Jaden Reed at pick 50 to the Green Bay Packers. I don't know much about this player. He kind of reminds me of one of those draft selections that just flails out.
Yeah, he
isn't good.
Yeah.
But he's 5'11", 191, just to give you some of his profile stuff. He ran a 4.45 40-yard dash, 79th percentile, 55th percentile speed score, 30th percentile burst score. His player comp is Stefan Diggs. I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, so he's not really on anyone's radars at this point. And I see him slotting in as the third receiver for the Green Bay Packers to start here.
I agree.
Maybe the fourth. So I don't know that he's going to get much run to start, and I don't know what the Packers' initial goal here is with him, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, because I didn't like him pre-draft that much either. And I still don't really love it.
Yeah.
But what I will say about him, and based on kind of what I'm seeing in rookie drafts and even my own rankings, like I have him pretty low, and a lot of people do. So he's somebody that actually is a pretty good value in rookie drafts. So just take it as a flyer because he can go in like the late 3rd, early 4th round. So he's a good flyer, kind of like Tyquan last year was a 2nd round pick that was going like late 3rd, early 4th round.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't love it. I think he's the wide receiver 3 on that team as well. And I wasn't crazy high on him pre-draft. So, but you never know. He's a good flyer.
Yeah. Yep. And okay, you wanna get punched in the nuts if you're a manager.
Third running back off the board.
Third running back off the board here in the 2nd round, Zach Charbonnet to the Seattle Seahawks. Now they lost. I thought when they lost Rashad Penny that all of the confusion in Seattle was finally over at running back. But no, we're going to go into the season with the Seattle Seahawks running with 2 running backs that are trying to earn their job. And it's going to be Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I don't know what the hell's going on there. I loved Kenneth Walker coming into this year. I'll tell you, I had him ranked very high.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys that I was going to draft probably in the 2nd, 3rd round if he was even available at that point. And now it's like, what do we do with Zach Charbonnet? I hate this landing spot for Charbonnet. I hate this for Kenneth Walker. Ultimately,
all around.
I think Kenneth Walker will still be an RB1 and or a top 15 running back at least and be able to produce. But I don't know what their goal is with Charbonnet, and it's just like Pete Carroll is like, in the Seattle Seahawks are like Patriots West.
Yep.
Sometimes, so
it's weird. Like you're the Seahawks GM and you're looking at your roster and you're like, yeah, we really. We really need a running back.
Hey, Rick, what do we need in this draft?
Let's see. Well, we could go defensive line. We could go edge here. Maybe some offensive line help.
Hey, boss, that Charbonnet's on the board. What? Send a ticket in.
But sir, we have all these needs in key positions like offensive line and defensive line and maybe even a linebacker, or you don't think we could go in a different direction here, sir?
No.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. To me, he's like, what do you do with him in rookie drafts? Because he has the draft capital. He's the 3rd running back off the board. He was a decent prospect.
We have to default to draft not draft collateral, because he wasn't as high a pick. He's a late second. So it's like, it's not like he's an automatic guarantee, but usually second round picks get the rock. So it's like, to me, I would say I'm okay taking him like mid to late second.
Sure.
That's okay with me. But like, if you're like, oh, I need to take him in the first round, like I think that's just, and I don't think Charbonnet is going to be there because of the draft capital. But like after the, we talked about this before, after the top two guys, like there is no running backs in this class. You know what I mean? So the expectation, like there's some guys that I think that are intriguing to look at, and we'll talk about them, a little bit later. But to me, it's like Charbonnet is the third highest guy drafted, and it's like, do you even want that? And I would say no. Like if I was sitting there, I'd go receiver.
Right. Yeah. No, I would agree. Man, it's just gross. It's so gross because he actually, you look at the draft capital and then the fact that he was the third running back off the board. To me, that seems like a good spot, and he would have been my RB3 clearly. But the Seahawks landing spot is one of the worst in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And Pete Carroll said that they're going to compete for rushing attempts. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. All right. Another really interesting, weird pick that is going to be discussed and overhyped for the entirety of the offseason. So second round, pick 55. The Chiefs have actually been searching desperately. I look at their wide receiver room and I look at the Patriots wide receiver room and I'm like, wow, quarterback really does make a difference. Because the Patriots, I would take the Chiefs receiving room, but
it's not like huge difference.
It's not a huge difference, and that's what Patrick Mahomes can do. It's insane. So, they've been looking for a receiver as a Tyreek Hill replacement, and they have been failing. They tried with Hardman, anticipating that they might move on from Hill. Hardman didn't really work out. They signed Juju. That, it worked, but it's not the same type of player.
Sky Moore.
They drafted Sky Moore. They brought in Tony. Like they're trying. They're trying to find pieces to this puzzle, and they add Rashee Rice to this. And it's always, it's funny because it's like these rando receivers. Like there were so many guys that they could have gone with, like Jalen Hyatt and like everyone that people have talked about. And they go with Rashee Rice. So Rice is 6 foot, 200. He ran a 4.51. This is your prototypical like X receiver. It looks like. I don't know what he played in college. I have not watched any film on this guy, but just based on profile, he looks like your prototypical X receiver. Bad breakout age, 57 percentile speed score. He has a good burst score, so it looks like he can get down the field fast. But his player comp is Terrace Marshall, who I liked. Here's the thing: is that we've done this. We've done this before. We played this game, and like, should we be in on Rashee Rice in rookie draft? Should we be excited about this, or like, is this just another one of those Chiefs draft picks where he's going to be like the fourth receiver and not do anything? Like, I just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, that's how I kind of feel.
It's a good landing spot.
It is a good landing spot. I kind of feel like he's just going to be another guy.
Yeah,
he doesn't. He's not really that Tyreek Hill. He's a little bit of a different receiver though, because he's not. That pure speed guy. He's not like super slow, but he's more of like a bigger receiver. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting and to see how they might use him. I think he's another guy. This is the problem with this year's draft is like you have the established guys, mm-hmm. and then after that it's just a bunch of flyers, and he's in the mix of a bunch of flyers.
Yeah.
So I do like the landing spot, and because of that, I might end up having a couple shares of him. Mm-hmm. And he was pretty. I mean, it took him a while to break out. Mm-hmm. He has a bad breakout age, but this past year in college, he was really, really good. 96 catches, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. He was a beast.
Sounds like there's good things there.
What is it?
I said it sounds like there's good things there.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see.
I think he like, because Tony's gonna play the slot. Sky Moore, yeah. I don't really know what they want to do with him, and You know what I mean? Like they were trying to get the ball in his hands in any way, and it wasn't working. But I do look at Rashee Rice, and I see him as that prototypical X, which I think they need on the outside.
Yeah. So he's got some ceiling there, but he could also just
flame out.
Right.
Another team looking for a tight end were the Dallas Cowboys. They took tight end Luke Schoonmaker. So I mean, this is another guy I don't think the tight end room for the Dallas Cowboys is emptied. They didn't bring back Dalton Schultz, right?
Nope, he's on Houston.
Yep, he's on the Houston Texans now. Okay, I wanted to confirm that my suspicions were correct. So there's really no other Dallas Cowboys tight end. They did like to throw the ball in that direction. I think that he'll probably get work at points this year, but it's a tight end, so don't expect anything year one. Dynasty-wise, if you want to draft a Dallas Cowboys tight end, feel free. Could be a later round guy that could have a little bit more success.
Exactly, and he goes like late. He's like a 4th round pick. So as a 4th round flyer, I like it, but he's not somebody who's going to make an impact year one by any means.
Yeah. Tight end Brandon Strange, Cole Strange's brother. I don't know if that's true. That's a joke. He went pick 61 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Terrible landing spot. They really like Evan Engram. I think this is just Evan Engram insurance in case he goes somewhere because they franchise tagged him, I believe. So if Evan Engram does walk next year, they can't come to an agreement. Strange will probably step into some kind of role in that offense. But year one, he's not going to be good, and I'm not really interested in drafting him.
I think he's more like, I like the fact that he's with Trevor Lawrence. So if Evan Engram ever does get hurt, he's got some potential there. But yeah, he's the number 2 tight end for the foreseeable future. And I think he profiles more as a blocking tight end because his college receiving stats aren't anything crazy.
Yeah.
So you add those two things.
They're trying to get Travis Kelce or the new running back, The Rock.
Yeah.
All right. So those tight ends. Quickly, pick a tight end so far that you think has the best year one chance.
Is it any of them?
Michael Mayer, probably.
I say of any of them. Or just the ones on the second round?
Oh, any of them.
I would say Kincaid.
Okay, yeah. I think Michael Mayer.
That's fair. He's very close behind him for me. So.
And they're probably both going in the first round.
First and second.
All right, last pick we're going to talk about in the second round. Marvin Mims goes to the Denver Broncos, pick 63. This brings an interesting question to the forefront because Mims drafted in the second round. This is pretty good draft capital. We haven't really spent a lot of time talking about Marvin Mims, so I'll bring up his measurables and stuff like that. But what this does, this to me, if things stay the same for Denver, is it's a pick that doesn't make a ton of. Like, it makes sense for me because they did have, who's that guy, the speed guy that they had that always gets
Hamler.
Right? What's KJ Hamlin or Hamler or whatever his name is.
Hamler.
So this guy kind of, is not necessarily a similar player to that, but I think he kind
of is a little bit.
He's gonna play a similar role to what that guy played. So he'll be the third receiver on the team, but this does, and by the way, he's 5'11", 183, 4.38, 40-yard dash, so 94th percentile there, 61st percentile speed score, 131st percentile burst score. So he is a fast receiver. He is going to play that Hamler role. So just based on what this profile looks like, to me, this does bring together an interesting situation because they have 2 receivers already. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. There's been a lot of rumors that they're going to trade one of these guys. Could this draft selection be a precursor to a possible trade?
Hopefully. I don't think it is, though.
Yeah.
I think he more plays the KJ Hamler role. And you notice, too, a theme with a lot of NFL teams that they want 3 really good wide receivers. Okay. The Ravens, the Vikings, or not the Vikings, actually, but the Ravens, the Chargers, the
Patriots,
the Seahawks,
Devontae Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster,
the Broncos now as well. There's a lot of these teams that are going for those, it used to be you get 2 really receivers, like the last couple of years, right? Like you have Higgins and Chase, you have Waddle and Hill. now these teams are trying to get 3 really good receivers. So I feel like that's kind of what they're doing, but I hope that's what it leads to as a Patriots fan, and they trade Jerry Jeudy. But I've also seen reports that they're talking about a potential contract extension with him, so I think that might be.
Who is that?
Jerry Jeudy.
Boo.
It might be over.
Boo. Yeah, I definitely could see them trading Cortland Sutton though.
Yeah.
All right. So that gives you Marvin Mims. Are you interested in Dynasty, by the way, really quickly?
For Marvin Mims?
Yeah.
I actually do, for the potential of a trade for either Jeudy or Sutton.
Okay.
Or even if he ends up being the Hamler role, like I feel like, and he's with Sean Payton, so there's a couple things I like about Marvin Mims.
Okay. All right, let's talk quickly about round 3. Hendon Hooker, Lions 68. This is a flyer pick for Detroit. I kind of always sense that Hendon Hooker is a career backup, so I don't think he's going to end up doing much for the Lions. But this could be a guy that they take now, plays similar style to, Jared Goff. So they take him now. Goff ends up getting cooked or something like that in a year, and, they go with Hendon Hooker. But
sure.
I think ESPN NFL Network, they were trying to make it out like this is going to be like, oh, Jared Goff's replacement. I don't really see them moving on from Goff.
Yeah, I saw that too. A report that he was going to be like, not a report. It was like they were just talking. He's like, this guy's going to sit behind Goff and then take over the role.
By the time he takes over, he's going to be 30.
He's literally only 3 years younger than Jared Goff.
Yeah, so that I just don't see Hendon. Like, Goff to me has like
he feels like a backup.
6-7 more years. Like, if he wanted to continue playing. I don't know how good he's going to be or if he's going to last that long for Detroit. But, like, if he stays good enough for Detroit for that long, they like him. They'll keep him on the team for another 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So, like, Hendon Hooker was drafted as a backup. He's just kind of insurance in case Jared Goff does go. He almost reminds me of a Davis Mills, where, like, they took Davis Mills and then Mills played and he had a decent rookie year, but he's not actually the guy. You know what I mean? So I think that's what Hendon Hooker is. He's a decent backup type player. All right, your boy Tank Dell to the Texans. How do you feel?
I like it. I thought he was going to go a lot later, so I thought he was going to be like end up being like a 4th or 5th rounder and just be like a punt return specialist. And he could still be that with the Texans, but at least there he might have some opportunity. He's an early 3rd round pick, so the capital's not awful. So I don't mind it. I think as a flyer, like because he's still going like late 3rd, early 4th round in rookie drafts. I think that's a good flyer.
Okay. Decent flyer. Don't know if the ceiling he has with Houston. I mean, they don't have any receivers, so there's that.
Yeah, and you got Stroud there, and apparently they're friends.
Ooh.
So that's always a good little nugget.
Friends, yeah. Okay, 4th running back off the board. This is where discussions get a little bit interesting. Kendre Miller to the New Orleans Saints. Alvin Kamara is probably going to be suspended.
Yeah.
Or in prison. One of the two.
Or both.
If he does not play at the start of this season, the whole suspension thing was pushed back because nothing's really happened yet. But if Alvin Kamara does inevitably get suspended, Kendre Miller steps into a really interesting spot with Houston, with New Orleans, and he could be a starting running back year 1, which brings an interesting situation. Could this be our Dameon Pierce?
Yes. Potentially.
Get lubed up this summer watching his videos.
Yeah, to me, I have him pretty high. I think he's my RB4 though, but he's close. And the problem is Kamara is still on that team, although he is on the back 9. So let's say he only gets suspended like a couple games. Kamara to me is still the RB1 there for year 1 at least.
Yeah.
And they just signed Jamal Williams. So they do have Jamal Williams on that team as well. So it's a crowded backfield. But long term, it's a good landing spot. You could be looking at this. He might have a slow year 1. If Kamara plays, he'll probably have a slow year 1, but he's someone that year 2, year 3 could break out. And if Kamara gets suspended, he could potentially break out year one. So I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. And to me, I would definitely take him over the running back in Seattle.
Oh yeah, 100%. So, like I said, I'm with you. It's not like a groundbreaking landing spot if Kamara isn't there. If Kamara is not there, for them, I think Miller does present a little bit more bright side of an option. But like I said, he's a third round running back. So, and there's third round running backs that work out year one all the time. So, I think keep an eye on Kendre Miller. Could be interesting.
I think Kamara was a third round running back, right?
Yeah. So just keep an eye on Kendre Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Decent spot. Jalen Hyatt to the Giants. I think this is a good spot for him.
Your guy.
Pick 73. I like Jalen Hyatt. They need receivers desperately for New York, and I think they waited a little too long for a receiver. I don't know what kind of production Jalen Hyatt's going to have year one, and they don't really have that great of a passing offense. So, we'll kind of see where things go with that. But he is a good wide receiver for the Giants. So, and with no one really there besides Sterling Shepard or whoever the crap is their second receiver, first receiver. I think Hyatt's going to be on the field day one, right?
Potentially. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's probably going to start in their slot.
Oh, I forgot about Wan'Dale.
Yeah, but he different role, I think, right? Hyatt's probably an X. What'd you say?
Yeah,
you would know better. I think
yeah. He probably he's like a he's very similar to he's Tyquan, a little bit slower Tyquan Thornton, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like he's probably going to compete with maybe Darius Slayton. For a starting role, and I think that's a battle that he could potentially win. So I don't mind the landing spot. I think, I'm not again going out of my way for Jalen Hyatt, but I don't hate the landing spot. And actually, considering his value, I probably will have a lot of shares for Jalen Hyatt because I think he's like a late second second round pick, maybe even early third. So I think in that range, I'll be taking a decent amount of Hyatt.
I did not hear a lot about this player, but Cedric Tillman goes next off the board to the Denver Broncos, the Cleveland Browns. 6'3", 213. He had a 4.54 at the combine, 53rd percentile, 40-yard dash.
Nicely.
79 percentile speed score, 79 percentile burst score. So those two things are good. His player comp is Zach Pascal, and his position in terms of athleticism was 7th in this class. So, could be an interesting guy for Cleveland, but I don't think it really means anything for them. This guy probably won't get a whole ton of reps year one.
He was look at his college production. He was injured pretty much his whole college career. He had one healthy season. He was really good in that healthy season, but he has a lot of injury histories, and he's going to a team where you're right. Year one production is probably not there, and the depth chart, he's probably their wide receiver 4. Year one, maybe wide receiver 5, because they have Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Bell. They have a lot of receivers there.
A lot of stuff going on.
I don't know where he slides in year one, but maybe long term he might sneak in there.
Agreed. Tight end Tucker Kraft, 3. He went third round, 78 to the Packers. Tight end again. I do think the guy that they took ahead of him, Luke Musgrave, he's a better prospect.
Yes.
Tucker Kraft, so I would imagine that he takes that role, but this reminds me of the Patriots taking 2 tight ends back-to-back a few years ago. So, I don't know where this is going to go, but I don't like Tucker Kraft in Dynasty or redraft or anything. So I
don't either, but again, as a late round flyer, he's a third round tight end, and he's kind of going. I think he's going undrafted. So if you have a deep league, I like the value there, but overall I agree.
Okay.
There's a couple interesting guys here.
Yeah. Josh Downs to the Colts. Obviously the Colts just got Anthony Richardson. Josh Downs, we talked about him before. He is a good receiver. I think, he probably should have gone ahead of some of these guys like Tank Dell, Jalen Hyatt, Tillman. But at pick 79, still a third round pick, slots in with Indianapolis. They lost Paris Campbell
Yes.
I would imagine that he's probably going to play that Paris Campbell role.
Yes.
So I don't anticipate too much production coming from him, especially if Anthony Richardson's starting year one.
Yes.
So there's not going to be a lot there. But interesting guy to keep an eye on because he does have a lot of athleticism. He has a lot of speed. And he's a good down the field threat. So I think, just keep an eye on him. I think he would be worth a 3rd or 4th round selection. I like him as an athlete. So, I think he can earn his way onto the field, but there's a lot of stuff going on for Indianapolis right now in terms of receivers.
Right. I love and hate this landing spot for him. He's gonna, I think, start right away in that Paris Campbell role. He's a great slot receiver. He's kind of on the smaller end, but he's gonna fill that Paris Campbell role perfectly. The problem is, Anthony Richardson, especially year one, how much are they gonna throw the ball, and how much is he gonna use the slot receiver as well with his play style? So I don't know if they mesh well together. We'll see how that goes. But I still really like the player, and he's gonna, I think, unlike some of these other receivers, will probably be a day one starter for the Colts.
Yeah.
And as that slot receiver. So I like it and I don't like it. But I still really like the player. He dominated in college. His second year in college, he had 1,300 yards. So he was ridiculous in the ACC, but we'll see how it goes. I still like him. I'll still draft him, but yeah.
Okay.
Richardson makes me nervous.
Tennessee Titans take running back Tajay Spears.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I mean, it depends on what happens with Derrick Henry. But, like, if Derrick Henry walks or goes or they trade him or they get rid of him, they're not trading him this year. They're going to utilize him. But if he ends up, in terms of Spears, he's going to be like a backup role-playing tight running back at this point. So, he'll spell Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry leaves, I would imagine that this team goes and finds a real running back. So
Probably.
I don't see a real upside for Tajay Spears at the running back position. I don't think it's a bad spot for him, but when you have Derrick Henry ahead of you, that's kind of tough to overcome.
Yeah, the thing is, I think Derrick Henry is on the verge of being out of the league, or maybe not out of the league.
But if he goes, they're gonna find somebody else. So that's where I'm like, I don't think
that's the likely scenario. But there's a chance that, look at the Bucs this year with Rachaad White. Like, they let Fournette go. He was the backup kind of ish for year one. And then they let Fournette go. Everybody thinks they're going to get a replacement at running back, and they're just going to let White get the opportunity. So I think there's a chance for that happening. And just purely based on that slight chance, I'm willing to draft him in like the middle rounds. I don't love it, and I don't even love the player necessarily. I guess he has some bad injury history that people talk about. But he's someone who I would be willing to take a flyer on.
Yeah. All right. This is a real interesting prospect because I think like Tank Bigsby to the Jaguars at 388, at round 3, pick 88. I think that's just a brick kind of running back that's going to spell a different kind of role, but is going to spell what's his name? Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's going to be. And then I think 4th round running backs at this point with this class are just completely worthless. But Devin Akane of the Dolphins is a really good landing spot. That is, I think that instantly makes him. I know it's a 3rd round pick, but to me that instantly makes him the 3rd running back.
Me too.
All the running backs. So,
and I think we both had him as our RB 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Pre-draft, right? Or 3, 4, or 5. He was in our top 5.
In that offense with that coach in that running game and how it works with them. You know what I mean? In that Shanahan style system.
Yeah, and he's a good pass-catching running back.
He's a good pass-catching running back. So they were talking about going after Dalvin Cook, trading for Miles Sanders. Not Miles Sanders, trading for DeAndre Swift. They were in on some of that stuff, and they chose to go with Devin Akane. So I like this landing spot a lot, and I think even in redraft, he's going to be a guy that he's probably going to get hyped up a little bit. Just because he's a Miami, he's going to be a Miami Dolphins running back, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh my god!" So, but I think he probably starts week 1. Or they put a veteran in there for week 1 and then shift to him later. But
I don't think he starts week 1, but I do think he's going to get a chance. He's my RB3 as well, ahead of Keandre Miller, although it's close. My only concern is the Dolphins' landing spot's really good, but because of he was like a late 3rd round pick, and Mike McDaniel comes from the Shanahan system, I feel like it's kind of going to be a running back rotation there. Because you know how he feels about Mostert, Jeff Wilson, like all these just like kind of stiffs. And then Arcane's going to be in the mix. And I think Arcane has the opportunity to really take that job. But all 3 guys are going to get an opportunity. But I still like him. I think he's the 3rd best running back in this rookie draft, if you're looking at it from a dynasty perspective.
Yeah.
Although there is a massive drop-off after Gibbs.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
Your guy, Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington, pick 93 in the 3rd round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not happy about that one. I really like Freiermuth, and I think that he is a substantially better tight end than Darnell Washington. And I was hoping Washington went somewhere. Like if he went to to a team like Dallas or the Packers, I would have been a lot more excited. But he falls to the 3rd round here, goes to the Steelers. I don't really know what his role is going to be with this team, especially if you have Freiermuth. So like at this point,
I love it for real football, real NFL, but for fantasy, it's going to be
he's dead. He's dead. Yeah. Like it's okay. I think flyer in the 4th is good. You know what I mean? Like,
I still think as a flyer, why not?
Because he's an elite.
Injuries
athlete.
happen.
Right.
Freiermuth could get traded or leave in free agency or something down the road.
Mike Wilson to the Cardinals at pick 94. That's nothing to me.
Yucky.
Trey Tucker to the Raiders.
Yucky.
In the 3rd round. Don't like that either. They have a lot of receivers for the Raiders. So like
he's like their wide receiver 4 and 5. So
and then jumping into the 4th round, we have just going through. This is a very heavy
Roschon Johnson.
I was just about to bring him up. Roschon Johnson to the Bears. This is an interesting draft selection. I don't really know who to choose because I know Herbert was really good in the time that they had, and I think they liked him a lot.
The coaching staff likes him.
The coaching staff likes him a lot. Roschon Johnson going, I think it just gives another option for them in case they want to pivot away from Herbert. So I really don't know who to go with in that backfield. I think to start the season, it's probably going to be Herbert. Ask me in a couple of months how I feel about drafting Herbert in redraft. Because I was going to draft him. If they escape this draft without drafting another running back, I was going to be like, okay, we're good. But Roschon Johnson, he's a good flyer in Dynasty as well. But Herbert's
I agree. I think he's a good flyer. But yeah, that backfield will be interesting. And I'm not saying that he's going to take over because I think Herbert's going to be the favorite, but he at least has an opportunity to win that backfield.
Yep. Darius Davis, wide receiver for the Chargers, taking another guy. From
TCU as well.
So I don't know where he's going to end up slotting in. He'll probably be like a 5th, 6th guy, that tries to make the roster. Probably will, but won't get much time. Quarterback Jake Herner gets drafted by the Saints. Probably a flyer pick. I would imagine. He's
the quarterback. They still have Winston too, don't they? They have Derek Carr and Winston.
Yep.
So that feels like a backup.
Yep. This was a stunner. Stetson Bennett to the Rams in the 4th round.
Should have been undrafted.
Now, Stetson Bennett they were talking about him going undrafted or maybe in the 7th round, and they were worried. The NFL teams were worried about a ton of stuff. He goes in the 4th round to the Rams. Don't think it's going to turn into anything, but very interesting because Matt Stafford's kind of getting old.
That's true,
and he doesn't look.
Hey, as a Mr. Irrelevant 4th round flyer, if you have the super flex and you're like,
yes, sir.
The 410 or something.
Yes, sir.
I'd take a flyer on him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Bennett how Bennett ends up getting utilized by the Rams. But I think they do want to focus a little bit on the future, and that's their choice. It also could just be Stetson Bennett being a career backup, but man, he sure as hell gets a much better paycheck than he would have getting undrafted. That's for sure. Charlie Jones, Purdue wide receiver, Adam Hutchinson's darling. He goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, probably to replace Tyler Boyd at some point, I would imagine. So it's going to be a couple years, but you might hear his name a little bit.
Late round flyer.
In 2 years from now, when we do a waiver wire show, you'll hear about him. Tyler Scott to Chicago. Sounds like they're just filling out the receiver room. He was an interesting prospect too. I think I want to pull up his stats because I'm interested in seeing what. I believe he was a larger player. Nope, he's 5'11", 185, 4'4". Player comp Sterling Shepard. Sounds like a role player to me.
Yeah.
So not excited about that. And then the Raiders draft Aiden O'Connell at the last pick of the fourth round, or not last pick of the fourth round, but the fourth round pick. And just rolling through some of these rest of the picks, the Jets took a running back.
Yeah, there's been some low-key hype about him too because Breece Hall's injury, but
interesting. Everyone lost it when the Packers took Sean Clifford. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I wouldn't look into any of these guys really.
No, I know. I'm just scrolling through what are we in the fifth round?
Yeah,
I don't see anyone of interest.
Chase Brown has had some hype because
I completely missed that name. Yeah, give us your thoughts on Chase Brown.
I mean, I'm not in on him.
Yeah,
I don't love him as a player. He's a fifth round draft capital.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Joe Mixon goes down, I think they're gonna go committee. But the dynasty people, they'll get hype.
They get hype. All right, so a couple of interesting guys. Rick and I have an attachment to this guy, but he was supposed to be a fourth round pick somewhere in that vicinity. Kayshon Boutte gets drafted by the New England Patriots. He's an interesting player because his film looks great.
Yep.
And if he had
he's actually getting drafted too, still in rookie drafts. Even though he's a sixth round pick.
If he had, I mean, I'd take a flyer on him in the fourth round, but
I absolutely would draft him as well.
Yeah.
But
if he had a minutely successful season last year, he probably would end up like a second or third round pick, and that's kind of where people thought he was gonna go towards the end of the season. So, very interesting for Kayshon Boutte. Goes to the New England Patriots. They don't have a lot of receivers, so he could very well get opportunity. But keep an eye on him. I only say his name because he is one of those guys like Justin Ross that everyone knows his name. So I bring him up there. But outside of that, I don't like. A.T. Perry went to the Saints.
I like A.T. Perry. I know it's sixth round, so it's like you're just picking poison. But he's somebody that I'm in a really deep league. It's like a 12 team, and I didn't have any draft picks, but I picked him up as a undrafted rookie to throw on my taxi squad. So
there you go.
Yeah, I don't hate A.T. Perry. I wish if he was on the Saints with like third round draft capital, I would like it a lot more. But that draft capital is kind of tough.
Xavier Hutchinson, big boy. I talked about him in the past. He's your prototypical X receiver, kind of slow though. He goes to Houston.
Add it to the 10 receivers.
Yeah, add it to the 10 receivers there. And then obviously, hey, if you want to go through the seventh round, we can do that. But I don't.
Do you like Zach Evans at all?
No,
to the Rams?
Not at all, dude. What in the world? People are gonna get him hot and bothered.
Yeah.
Over a seventh round pick. Yeah. So I don't see anything else that's really of value. Did you see any UDFAs?
The only one was Sean Tucker, right?
Where did he go?
He went somewhere. I think it was the Bucks, but let me confirm.
Yeah, it might have been the Bucks. I remember hearing that.
Yep, Tampa Bay Bucks.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that'll do it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
The late rounds are kind of boring, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
it makes me fall asleep. I'm not gonna lie. But there you go. I think rounds 1 through 4 probably have the most prospects. But take all this information, use it for your dynasty drafts, use it for redraft too, because you might be able to get some gems. We'll see you later, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.